Guys, welcome back. And today we are going to be talking about focused intention and what it may mean for us, and what kind of force it may or may not be. So some things to consider. If you're a remote viewer, some of this you'll know, but there's some interesting perspectives here. I think it's worth considering. Now, so first of all, spoon bending, right? Have you guys seen this? These spoon bending parties where they all get together and they're like, bend, bend, bend. Okay, so then they get this feeling, starts to get this idea. It starts to feel tacky, and then right when they feel it's heating up, they bend it, and it has this weird curl. Okay, that's kind of the idea around it. Now, a lot of times they'll play music to try and get the energy up, and but for the most part, it looks like they just basically focusing on this spoon and willing it to bend, right? So the spoon seemingly bends in this strange way. Um, so again, let's just for perspective's sake, if you haven't done any of this, let's just come down this road with me and let's say this works. Okay. So what can we speculate might be happening? Did something cause this spoon to heat up to some odd degrees? It didn't happen to hurt your hand, but was hot enough to melt the metal for that brief moment? Um, is there some spiritual nature to it? Where you call upon a god to make it? It doesn't seem so. If you look at the screen, we all remember this, right? Levitation as kids. You're having the kids are having a slumber party. They all get in a circle. They light some candles. They turn the lights out. One person gets in the middle. You have three of them, three or four of them, get around them with just a couple fingers and try and lift them. Well, they can't lift them; they're too heavy. It's just a couple fingers, a few kids, right? Trying to lift like maybe 100 pounds or whatever. So then, what do they? What's the chant, right? I mean, you guys remember this from high school? Okay, it's light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Okay. So you're reiterating this idea that, again, no, no, no. This isn't a person that's impossible to lift with just a couple fingers and us kids. That's that breaks the reality of how things work. She's too heavy or he's too heavy, whatever. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Then all of a sudden, boom, they're able to lift them, only momentarily or briefly, right? And they come back down. Then seemingly they can't lift them again like that, right? I have seen this happen. Okay. Now, I'm assuming a lot of you have. I mean, if you're kids, I'm sure a lot of kids have done that. Now, let's say this works. What's going on? What the hell's going on? Are there four ghosts around the body lifting it? Like, look at these guys. They think they're lifting this. Like it's a big practical joke or something? Or it doesn't. I mean, why it doesn't seem that way? You didn't call upon any god or anything like that or any deity. The only thing you did is you kept reinforcing this idea. No, no, no. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. And what you were once not able to do for that brief moment, you were now able to do. Now, seemingly, you're intending on lifting this person, something collective you all know you can't do, right? Or shouldn't be able to do, and yet you reiterate this phrase in your head. And then, seemingly for a momentary bit, you're able to do it. So it begs the question. So then you ask yourself, okay, so what happened in that moment? does her body all of a sudden weigh, 10, 15 pounds instead of 100 pounds? I mean, if you threw that body on a scale right at the last moment, would they weigh any less? There doesn't seem to be any outside forces that's perceivable that we can understand. So, is it any of those options, or is it that for a brief moment you have broken the laws that bound this reality? Have you because matter shouldn't bend like that. It shouldn't get hot. These people should not be able to lift up this weight. Now, then you got to ask yourself another question. What if it was a couple, like 3, 4 kids, and they lift up a 200-pound man? Okay? You got to ask yourself, does weight have anything to do with it at all? What if weight has nothing to do with it? What if you take the person out of the circle and you put an object in there that's really heavy? Would the experiment act any different? So now, seemingly, in like a levitation experiment, you have what seems to be a stacked intention. The three or four, you've got this same idea you keep focusing on, is we are going to lift this person because this person is not heavy. This person is light, and we can lift them. Right? I mean, just the basic premise, right? And it seems to happen. So, if that is the case, where are the limits to it? Can they be tested? Can they be stretched? Probably. So, you got to ask yourself a question. Does it have anything to do with a quantity of intention, or does it have to do how well it's focused? That could be. Right? Now, let's take a look at how we might focus this intention. Okay? So, again, I don't practice any like just this levitation is the closest I've ever got to, like in high school, was more as like a gag and stuff. But again, you see results, right? But I do read about other culture stuff a little bit here, just as more of like an understanding the science, what I mean, behind what might be going on. So let's look at voodoo for a second, like a voodoo doll, okay? So again, let's say that this works, okay? There's a culture that practices this and all that, okay? So what are they doing? Okay, so they may put some kind of ceremonial garb on, some dance, and maybe they do pray to some deity. I really don't know, But let's look at kind of what's associated with that. Okay, so typically a voodoo doll, they will have a piece of something that's associated to the person, whether it be hair and blood. And then with their, basically their intention, or which seems dark, in that you're using your intention in this in order to hurt someone, which to me, that would be the dark aspect of it, is you're using this ritual way that you're pointing this force in order to do harm. Okay. But physically, what do we have there? We have a doll, a representation of someone else, right? But within that doll, you have their DNA, with the blood, with the hair. Seemingly, where if you could make up that person, if you could, what makes them on a cellular level is now attached to that item, right? Mm-hmm. And so they have put this ideology into that this is the person, this is, so, and then seemingly they may be able to harm this person through this. So what's powering it? Is it their belief? Is it their intention? Now, if they were doing something like this, but in a positive way, okay, say they took the blood, a sample of a hair or something, and made a representation of a person, and they were trying to heal a person in some way. Does it take away does it now make it something else? Like a good thing? So, again, it begs the question, if it's known that these things exist and how they operate. I mean, our ancient cultures had, that were doing stuff like this, that had some of this old knowledge. Where they got it from, it's an interesting question. Because from my perspective, I really don't hold on to any kind of beliefs. What it looks like to me is it looks like a science we don't really understand. But if our intention could do seemingly these things just by focusing it in one area and stacking it, it begs the question how powerful we could be as a collective unit, kind of focusing on doing some good or anything. Just how powerful does it get? Again, so you get this guy, you get 3 or 4 people. What if you put, what if it's a circle that's 10 people? What can you do then with it? How much can you lift? What else can you do with that raw intention? So, as far as remote viewing goes, intention, when I put a prompt on my paper, go above the structure at 1,000 meters and sketch what's there. It's raw intention. Put the camera up here and sketch what's down there. That's it. When you're without a body, or if you're having an out-of-body experience, or if you're doing, something akin to that, or even extended remote viewing. Hey, I wanted this perspective, this, that, and the other. It's intention. You're just telling yourself, hey, we're going to do this. I'm going to tend on doing that. And we're going to do it. And that's it. So, how far does this go? I mean, could something like this be weaponized if we understood more about it? We don't even know what's going on. We don't even know what it is. But it seems to work, right? So, just a couple things to ponder as far as intention. What is it? What's the driving force behind it? What it's actually doing in these kinds of events? Because from my perspective, it's somehow, for a brief moment, you are breaking the laws that govern this reality. Things that should not be happening without any observable physical technology other than you. And you're doing something that seems to be magical. Think about it. Catch you next time.